Hey everyone, welcome to WoolBooty number 4. These are my videos where I just share all the stuff I've been shopping for that is knitting related. So that's going to be yarn, gadgets, needles, books, etc., all that good stuff. I'm going to share it here. I don't share it on the podcast anymore because it just takes up a lot of time. So I've got a Fringe porter bin filled with stuff I've picked up over the last few months. So I'm gonna share it here, and if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm WoolJewel on there. I have a Ravelry group, that's WoolJewel Podcast, and that's a group for the podcast where I host my knit-alongs and things like that. So if you are a regular viewer of the podcast, definitely go check it out. And I will link to that and to my Patreon below. And if you guys have any questions about any of the stuff that I'm sharing here, please leave me a comment. I would love to answer your questions because a lot of times I just forget to mention obvious stuff that I really should mention. So just let me know if I forgot anything. That being said, let's get into it. Okay, so I've got my Fringe Supply Co. porter bin, and it is full of yarn that I've picked up in various places, and I think I'm just going to pull things out randomly and not go any special order because it's totally full of yarn, and yeah, I'll just do it that way. So the first thing I'm going to pull out is this book. I picked up Knitting Outside the Box by Bristol Ivy because I've been wanting this since it came out. I think that there are some really gorgeous patterns in here, but there's a lot of other things too. There's a lot of things that Bristol Ivy wrote about, like her process and techniques and things like that. So it's a really great book. I haven't read through all of it yet, and I haven't knit from it yet. It's just been sitting in my porter bin, but I don't know. The photography is just gorgeous. The whole thing is beautiful. I didn't pick it up when it first came out because I think might have been like 40 something bucks. I don't remember how much it is, but I just felt like it was a little bit, oh yeah, it says 29.50 pounds. So it was just a little on the pricey side, especially when I wasn't planning on knitting something from it immediately. There wasn't a pattern I wanted specifically right then. So I thought I would just wait, or maybe flip through it at a festival or yarn shop or something before I invested in it. And I did. I got to flip through it at EYF when I was there, and I was pretty much convinced I wanted it. And also, I think a couple of the samples were at EYF when I was there, and I tried on a cardigan. I'm not sure which one it was. Let me find it. Okay, right. So it's the Woodman cardigan. Looks like this. And it didn't catch my eye immediately, but seeing it in person, I thought it was super beautiful. I really, really love the welts detail that it has on the shoulders and everything. So I think I'm gonna knit that eventually. And the yarn, the suggested yarn for it, I lost the page again already, sorry. The suggested yarn for it, I looked it up and it is pretty pricey. So as much as I love the suggested yarn, it's super beautiful and it felt so nice, and I think that the welts really stand out with it. I don't think I'm gonna be able to justify purchasing that yarn anytime soon with all the sweater quantities already in my stash. That might be a further down the line future thing for me. Okay, anyway, so I ended up buying this a few weeks after EYF, and I saw that I got an email that KnitPicks was doing their 40% off book sale, so I snatched this up immediately. I think that that is an awesome place to pick up knitting books because they have this 40% off knitting book sale, or any book sale that they have on their website, pretty often, I think. I've picked up several books that way. So if you're not sure if you want to splurge on a full book, if you need only like 1 or 2 patterns from it, see if you can wait until Knit Picks does their book sale, if they have the book. And then it's definitely more than worth it. So I was really happy that these were in stock during their sale and I got one. So the next thing I've got is this sock blank from Stranded Dye Works. So Amy posted that she was no longer going to be doing sock blanks, and so she was just going to do a shop update with all of the sock blanks, just to kind of clear them out and be done with them, and I snagged one. This is not the colorway that I had first picked out. I really wanted her, what's it called? Oh, Online Alter Ego color or something like that. It looked really amazing in the blank. And I had it in my cart and everything, and I was gonna do it, and then I was talking to Ben about money, and he discouraged me from buying more yarn. And then I was really upset when it sold out. And then he was surprised that I was so upset, and he was like, oh, I didn't realize you wanted it that bad, so why don't you just go ahead and get a different one. So I ended up buying it. So now I know, don't consult Ben first, just buy the yarn and don't say anything about it. He usually he doesn't make a big deal about me spending money on yarn, but occasionally we'll go a little crazy and need to rein back our spending a little bit. But yeah, so that was one of those times. But anyway, I ordered one, and I ordered one because I had a sock blank that I picked up at Berlin Knits, and it was the first sock blank I ever used, and it was really, really fun. I don't know, I just really liked knitting from it, and so since she said that she wasn't going to be dyeing any more of these, I decided to pick one up. I will unroll it for you so you can see. Here's half of it. Here's the other half. Yeah, so I haven't really been knitting a whole lot of socks this year, but that might change. We have some trips coming up, so I might do some sock knitting as travel knitting. And this is the colorway Pinata. Okay, next I've got this skein of 50-50 wool and silk. This is from Le Chat qui Tricote. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I don't remember if you pronounce the T there or not. But this is from a shop in Provence, which I picked up a couple days ago. So Ben and I took a little trip to Provence with our friend Michelle, and we rented a car and drove all over the place. We saw the lavender fields, and of course we had to go to a yarn shop, and this one looked especially fun because everything was cat themed, and I don't know, it was just really cute. It's also a cafe, so it was pretty fun. I've been to a few knitting shops around the world that are like a cafe and a yarn shop, but usually it'll be like 90% yarn shop, 10% cafe, and there's just like, you can get a coffee in the back or something. This was equal parts yarn shop and cafe. It was kind of cool. So we got some coffee and sat and knit for a while, and I bought this skein of hand-dyed yarn. So this is the Duchess base, and the colorway is Cafe Creme. And so yeah, this is 50% merino, 50% silk. It's fingering weight, and I'm really excited to use this. I haven't used a whole lot of wool silk blends, but I did have some in my stash for like several years that I never used, and I finally knit it up into a tank top, which I will share on episode 30 of my podcast. And then, I don't know, I was just really into the way the fabric felt and the drape and like the little bit of shininess that you get from the silk, and it was just really nice to work with. But that was a lace weight, so I thought I'd pick up some of this, and this is a fingering weight. And I already have plans for it. I have a 75-25 wool silk blend that I picked up on Etsy last year. So I'm planning on making the tarmac tank top with it, which is in the Summer Stripes issue of Pom Pom Quarterly. So I think I'm going to be striping it into that tank top. So that's it for that one. Here is a skein of Hedgehog Fibers sock. I got this in Fort Worth. So I went to Texas for my sister's wedding, and the local yarn shop that's super close to my parents' house is West 7th Wool. And it's a really, really great shop. I love it. And I know it's like, I don't know, I usually try to just pick up local things when I'm traveling. So I feel kind of dumb that I bought Hedgehog Fibers all the way in Texas. But I just really, really, really love this colorway. I don't even like this base that much. I think I'm not alone when I say that the sock yarn base is splitty and not that great to work with. I love the overall fabric that you get from it when it's all knit up and everything, but the actual act of knitting it can be frustrating sometimes because it's pretty splitty. But yeah, I don't know. I just really like this colorway. So I got 2 skeins. I don't know what it's gonna be yet, probably a shawl. And this is the cereal colorway, blowing out. Yeah, it's just a really nice, warm beige color on the base. And the speckles are mostly purple, yellow, and teal. And there's some pink and orange thrown in there. I don't know. It's just so pretty. So nothing really special to say about this one other than I super liked it and I bought it in Fort Worth. Here's a good one. This one has that amazing sheepy smell. Ben got this for me actually. Oh shoot. I'm really horrible and I don't remember the name of the shop he picked this up from, but he had to go to, or he got to go to Sweden for work, and he had some time off on one day, and being the awesome husband that he is, his #1 thing to do was go find a yarn shop for me. So he found a yarn shop. I'll put the name up here because I can't remember the name of it. But he found a yarn shop and he made friends with the woman working there, and she suggested this yarn to him. He got me 2 or 3 skeins of this, but it came from a local farm, and she was telling him all about the sheep and everything, and I think that this is going to knit up into stripes, but I'm not totally sure. I'm not 100% positive how the different colors are distributed into it. I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with this because I don't typically buy stripy yarn. So I think what I'm gonna do is use these as a contrast color in a Colorwork sweater or something like that. Like have a solid color background and then do the Colorwork contrast in the stripes so that it's not like super stripy. It'll just be the Colorwork part that's striped. I think that'll look pretty cool. I would say this is probably a DK weight, but I'm not totally sure. I'm sorry that I don't really know anything about this, but like I said, I will ask Ben for the info on what the shop was and I will put it up here. Just know that it is super squishy and super sheepy and it smells really good, and that's the most important thing about it. Okay, next. A couple months ago, when did we go? Yeah, in April, Ben and I went to Iceland, as most of y'all probably know if you've been watching. And we picked up a lot of yarn there. Iceland is an expensive place to be, but the yarn is very affordable if you're buying Lopi. So we both got enough yarn to make ourselves a Pop ASA. Ben knits, but not all the time, and he's never made himself a sweater. And I thought it would be really cute and fun if we both knit each other a Pop ASA. So we ended up getting some yarn for that, and he wanted one that was pretty colorful. So if you want to see what they look like. This is kind of what we're going for. So those are the Lopa pastas. So I knew that I had some yarn sitting around in my stash that he could use as the main color. So this is what I had in my stash already. And I knew that this was sitting there. I ordered it for a project as a backup a while back. And I knew that I had enough for him to use as a main color for a sweater quantity. So we knew that this was gonna be his main color, so we just searched for colors that were gonna go with it. And Ben has always loved fun colors and everything and doesn't care too much about being, you know, wearing like macho knits, so he doesn't really care too much about that. So it was really fun picking out colors with him. So here's what he picked out. So he's got this really beautiful rusty reddish orange color and this really beautiful plum purple, and this is heathered. So the heather in there is really pretty because you can see the individual fibers of the red and like the kind of teal in there. I think it's so beautiful. I love it. And then his third color is just this really deep navy. So here's what that'll look like. I think it'll be awesome. I'm really excited to see what he comes up with. Yeah, so we're each gonna kind of design our own color work, I think, or use the book to help us figure it out. Yeah, so the original plan was for us to knit each other the sweaters, but then when I was picking out colors for my own, I'll show you what I picked out. I saw a sample in the shop that had these colors in it. So this is my main color, this beige, and then I have a medium gray and a cream for the color work. And I just thought it was so beautiful, but the only way to get those colors was to buy it in these plates. So this yarn that Ben's gonna be using is the Alafas Lopi, which is kind of their chunkier weight yarn. And then this is the Plita Lopi, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, so this isn't even really yarn. It's just basically roving, like super, super thin pencil roving, and it just kind of comes apart super easily. So you have to hold it double when you knit with it. And Ben knows how to knit and everything, but I didn't want to complicate his process by making him knit with these. I think it'll just add an extra element of frustration for him. So we're just gonna go ahead and knit our own. And I can use this Lopi and he can use the chunky, which I think will be a better time for him. Yeah. So that's about it for the Lopi. We'll probably start those in time for winter, so maybe in the next month or two we'll get started because he's gonna take a lot longer on his sweater than I am. So I think I'm gonna help him get started on his. And while we were in Iceland, I wanted to get this book because it had just come out, I think, during EYF or right after EYF, I don't remember, but sometime this spring this came out, or at least the English version came out. I don't know if the Icelandic one was out before. But it is so great. There's just a lot of different charts and things. I'm gonna cover up part of the charts, but it's this kind of book. So you have lots of different options for the colorwork charts for the yoke, and then it kind of shows you how it's traditionally done to make a Lopa Pesa. So I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the author's name, but I'll put it right here. And I didn't get this on our trip to Iceland actually because we were just spending a lot of money. We were kind of going crazy, and I think this book was about 40 bucks. So I just decided I would buy the book. I'd rather buy it later and pay for shipping and pay a little extra, but buy it when I was ready to actually knit the thing instead of have an extra thing to put in my suitcase on my way home. But then I had a connection in Iceland on my way to Texas for my sister's wedding. So I was there for a few hours by myself, and I was wandering around the airport, and this book was for sale in the airport, so I just bought it right away because I knew I was gonna get it eventually, and I just threw it in my carry-on, and that was that. So yeah, the airport in Iceland is great for shopping actually. Really looking forward to knitting those sweaters. I have a few more things to share. But yeah, I picked up some of these Luca needles that everybody, you know, I'm super late on this, but everybody's been obsessed with them for a while now, and I didn't have any. And I saw them at the West 7th Wool Shop in Fort Worth, and I just decided to pick some up just to try them out. No project in mind yet, but I picked up a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter, because I use that size a lot for knitting fingering weight sweaters. So, yeah, I think my next fingering weight sweater, I will go ahead and give these a try. And if I'm super into them, we'll probably be buying the interchangeable set, because that's just how I do things. It's like all or nothing over here. Okay, next yarn to share is this awesome skein of Backyard Fiberworks hand-dyed yarn and knitting supplies. And it comes with a stitch marker for the tag, which is so smart. I think dyers all should do this. Okay, so this is the lemongrass colorway, and it is a 100% superwash merino fingering weight single ply. This is the prairie base. My sister Allison sent this to me as a birthday gift with an awesome mug. Should have shown the mug. Anyway, I'll show it off later. Yeah, so I can't wait to use this. I have noticed that a lot of people send me this color or similar color things as gifts. I've been getting a lot of like lime green, neon yellow family colors as gifts, and I love it. Yeah. Like anytime I do a swap or get something as a gift, it's like this color family. So anyway, thank you, Allison. I have no idea what this is gonna be. It'll probably just live in my stash until I have an awesome project to throw it in. Like all my other really bright fingering weight skeins. It'll probably end up being in a Stephen West something or other. Okay, ooh, here's a fun one. This has gold stellina in it and is super electric greenish yellow purple. I guess I should tell you what it is, huh? Okay, this is Earl Grey Fiber Co. And the base is chamomile sock. It is a 2-ply 75-25 superwash merino nylon and gold stellina. This was part of her The Office yarn club thing. Is that what it is? Yeah, it was like a yarn club, but that was The Office themed. And so the colorway is I am Beyonce always. That's a thing that Michael Scott says. And I just think that this is totally the perfect yarn for that. This is not something that I would have seen in a shop and just bought for myself. So I don't know. I just sometimes think it's fun to sign up for these clubs and get a little surprise. That's something you wouldn't normally buy, because who knows what this will end up being. A lot of stuff that I've gotten as a surprise, like when I was signing up for the Hedgehog Fibers clubs a while back. I haven't really done one in a really long time, but I found that when you get things that you normally wouldn't pick out, you will knit things that you normally never would have knit, and then it, you know, it's just great all around. So if you're somebody that's like really afraid to try different colors and things like that, sign up for some clubs. It's totally worth it, in my opinion, just to have some like extra little things in your stash that might surprise you if you knit them up, and it can be really fun. So this is one of those things for me. This will probably also end up in a Stephen West something or other. Maybe I'll put these together. Maybe not so much. Okay, so a couple other things. I've got this gorgeous skein of Viola. Here's the tag. Oh my gosh, the tag is so pretty. This is merino fingering. It's 100% superwash merino. DTTW. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, so I got this at Loop in London. Last year when I went to London, I picked up a skein of the same base from the same dyer in the Mist colorway, I think. It's kind of a grayish purple and it's really subtle and pretty, and I thought it needed a buddy. So I just picked this one up and I think I'll put them together in something. I have no idea what yet, but I just thought that this was really, really pretty. And yeah, so now it has a buddy and they'll live in my stash together until I figure out what I'm gonna use them for. Okay, getting close to the end. So I also have this. This is lane number 4. I'm really excited about this because this issue has the stalactite sweater in it. And I have been wanting to make that since I saw it at EYF. I'm gonna flip to the picture so you can see it. I think there's a few patterns in here I'll end up making, but first I'm gonna do this one. I originally saw this pattern, I guess I should say I saw the sample, not the sample, but a sample at EYF. It was hanging up at a booth. I don't even remember which one because I just saw it in passing, and I didn't even get the name of it. I just was lucky enough to notice that it was the same pattern when I was flipping through Lane. But that sample was kind of a mustard yellow for the main color and I think gray for the contrast, and I thought it was so cute. I loved it, and I was convinced I was gonna make a mustard yellow version of it as well, but I didn't have the yarn yet. But anyway, I bought this when I was in Berlin with Ben, and we were there for not even 24 hours. So we flew to Berlin in the morning because Ben was instrument shopping. So Ben plays the bass, which is like the really big one for those of you that don't know. It's like big, huge double bass, and he's a professional musician. We both are, and so buying an instrument is like a huge investment, like scarier than buying a car, I think. So yeah, we went to Berlin to look at this bass he was interested in. I usually will take the time to research yarn shops anywhere that I go, but I told myself, I was like, I'm not even gonna look because we're not even gonna be there with enough time. We had time to go to the bass shop and get dinner and then fly home, and that was about it. So I was like, I'm not even gonna look because I don't want to feel like I'm missing out, so we're just gonna go. This is gonna be about Ben and his instruments. So we went, and the bass shop was in this really, really beautiful courtyard, and he had just moved his shop there. He was in a different location before and just moved into this place in this courtyard. And while we were in there, I was waiting for him and I was knitting. And the guy that owns the shop was like, oh, there's a wool shop that's just right over there. And it was in the same courtyard, and it was Yarn Over Berlin. What are the odds? It was perfect. So, yeah, so I went into Yarn Over Berlin, who I already followed on Instagram. I just had no idea it was gonna be that close. It was like a joke how close it was, because it was just right next door, basically. Yeah, so I went in there, and I had just gotten back from EYF, so I was like, I do not need any more yarn. I bought a ton of stuff there. I didn't want to spend any more money. But books don't count, so I bought this. And while I was there, I got to check out the suggested yarn for the stalactite which is Durarum Natura, and I think it's Gilead base. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, that was a suggested yarn, and they had it in stock, but I was very good and I did not buy it, even though I was buying the book just for that pattern. But I was really glad that it was there, because then I could kind of feel it and squish it and smell it, because I do that, and see how much it costs. And it is a really affordable yarn. I was very surprised, because of how it feels, and I don't know, it's just a really beautiful yarn. So we went home. I went home with the book, and a few weeks later, after we got our finances figured out and everything to buy this base, Ben was ready to go buy his base, and he drove up to Berlin by himself. I was sad I couldn't go with him, and he was very, very nice, and he went into Yarn Over Berlin and bought the yarn for that sweater for me. So he got a base, and I got a sweater's quantity of yarn. Sounds about right. Yeah, so I'm gonna use this as the main color for my stalactite. This is the caramel. I say caramel, but then when people are listening to me, I want to say caramel. Let's go with caramel. Okay, so it's the caramel colorway. And the contrast I'm gonna use is Poivre Blanc, I believe that's how you say that. So this is kind of a heathered cream color with like a little bit of like grayish brown heather in there. It's really, really pretty. Ben says that this is like teddy bear brown, but I think it's more like a gingerbread cookie. So I'm kind of worried I'm gonna look like a gingerbread cookie with like icing on it, but there are worse things to look like, right? Yeah. So they didn't have like a mustard color in this at the time, but I'm okay with that. I think this is gonna be really pretty. I already have a bunch of yellow stuff and not very much brown stuff. I'm kind of a gray person when it comes to neutrals, so I don't buy a lot of brown. But this seems like an easier brown for me to work with than most. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. I've got two quick things left. So I got this in Provence too, the same place, the same shop I got this yarn. So I picked up this magic paper from DMC, and if you guys don't know what this is, it's for embroidering. So the way it works is you draw your pattern or your design or whatever you want on this paper, and then you put it onto the fabric you're going to embroider, and that way you can embroider onto your drawn, like hand-drawn design without having to mark up the fabric itself. So you embroider it all together, and then when you're done, you pour water on it and the paper dissolves. So I think that that's pretty cool. I've heard of this stuff, but I've never used it before because I don't do a whole lot of embroidery, but I learned how to do it a few months ago, and I want to do a little more. I don't know. I think it'll be really fun to try this. But this thing only comes with 2 sheets in it, so I kind of wish it came with more, but just to try it out, it's not like I need a whole lot. So yeah, I'll show you guys. If I ever end up actually embroidering something that's worth showing, then I will definitely show it to you. Okay, the last thing I have to share, I'm super excited about, and that is this yarn that I picked up at Wild and Woolly in London. So this is from Triskelion yarn. This is the Skilfing 4-ply. I probably am not saying that right. But it's 75 Blueface Leicester and 25% Gotland. That might be wrong too, I don't know. It says sourced, spun, and hand-dyed in Britain. It's 100 grams, 350 meters. So I'd say this is like a light sport weight. I don't know, maybe it's fingering. It's kind of like hairy, like it kind of has a halo. So I think I could use it like a sport weight. because I think it'll bloom in the way that it'll fill up the space if I use it on a little bit bigger needles than what I'd usually use for a fingering weight. But we'll see. I haven't swatched with it yet, but I got 3 skeins of this. Oh, the colorway is Ember's End. So I want to make the Vita de V, I think that's how you say it, pullover from the spring 2018 pom-pom. I'll put a picture up here. Yeah, so I really liked that sweater, and I like that it's knit side to side. I think that that's a fun construction. I like the lace, and I also really liked that it's a really lightweight sweater because it's for a sport weight yarn, but knit on size a US 6 needle, which I think would just give a really nice light and airy fabric. And I think especially with this, because this would either be, I'd say this is like a light sport weight, it'll be especially breezy and nice to wear for layering and stuff like that. Okay, I think that's it for all of my new stuff to show you. I say that because it's not actually new anymore. I've had it sitting around in my porter bin for quite a while. I think I'm gonna do these WoolBooty videos just whenever this fills up with stuff, so I have enough stuff to talk about, and that's about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know if you have been shopping for anything in particular that you're excited about. I would love to know about it. As much yarn as I have, I am still always shopping and want to try new things, so let me know. And if you like this type of video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It helps me know that I should keep doing these, and it helps other people find the podcast, so would appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next podcast episode. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Gosh, the cat is so cute. She's sleeping on the couch behind me. I'll just show you. This is really messy, but I'm going to show you the cat. She's just sitting there with the yarn. Go to sleep.